All right, let's get into quarterbacks here. Jaden Daniels is the first guy I want to talk to you about because you've been saying for a while that like he can't just keep getting away with what he's been doing. Early in the season it was the rushing upside, but also wild efficiency. Like he was 21 for 23 against Cincinnati, completed 91% of passes, 26 for 30, completed 87% of passes, 23 for 29 against the Giants. You get my point, right? You have since seen that number drop off dramatically against Chicago, against Pittsburgh, against Philly. It was 69%, but essentially everything was dink and dunk. He averaged 6 yards per attempt. He's 7K, which is the cheapest we've seen him in a little while. But at the same time, I would just rather go to Brian Robinson in this game.
I'm with you. This is part of the knock on Jalen Daniels is his talent in the sense that they don't need him to be Superman in a game at home against Dallas. They need him to not lose the game, and he seems more than content to not do that. That's not good for 7K. Yeah, no, it would be my first instinct here. It's not that you can't play him. He's Jaden Daniels, but I'm really, really not interested in him. I think they just salt the game away and win the game, which is the most important thing.
That's the way I see it too. I'll tell you what, they're 10-point favorites, and I'm almost tempted to bet Washington here.
Dallas is on the Jacksonville plan of just quitting.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy's clearly a lame duck. There's no way he's coming back.
He's beyond fired.
Yep. Jerry's not going to fire him midseason. At least that's what he's saying. But that doesn't make a difference. And then they just lost 3 offensive linemen yesterday.
Yeah, Zach Martin got hurt. Multiple guys got hurt.
Zach Martin got hurt. Tyler Guyton got hurt. Who was the other one that got hurt? Tyler Smith got hurt. 3 starters. What's the point of rushing those guys back? 2 ankle injuries and a shoulder injury. And the moment they went down, I think Rush got sacked 3 times in a row. It's bad. Give me Brian Robinson. I don't love Jaden Daniels here. Maybe if he's super unowned, Ben, but I still would rather go elsewhere. What about Pat? I don't like betting big favorites every week, but this is one of those weeks I think I'm kind of leaning into it with some of these spots. I know the Panthers are coming off of a bye, but talk to me. How do they move the football? Number one, you can't run on the Chiefs. And I know Jonathan Brooks is coming back. That doesn't move the needle. Chuba's been good, but you have not been able to run on the Chiefs. If it's up to Bryce Young to move the football downfield through the air, I don't see how they do it. And the Chiefs offense has sputtered. They've struggled. I don't like betting Mahomes. By the way, good call on the Bills last week. I don't like betting Mahomes as a big favorite, but I may be willing to make an exception to the rule this week.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. It's really good optics. It's really hard to quantify a lot of these things, but the Chiefs should be angry. The Chiefs should be motivated. The Chiefs should be focused. I actually want Carolina in the best optimized position because I'd like them to hang in the game a little bit, and at home with some rest can't hurt. That's fine, but I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to Jordan Love. San Francisco's defense is just simply not the unit that I thought they would be. Clearly, they can't stop teams when it matters. Green Bay back at home, weather pending, but Jordan Love has massive upside. And yes, the stack is a nightmare with him, but at 6,700, I'm okay taking a little Packers exposure here.
34 degrees, yeah. How would you? Yeah, that's not that bad. It's not going to be windy. If it's 34 degrees with 20-mile-per-hour winds, that's a little different.
Yeah.
How do you do it then?
So that is going to be a problem. How do you do it? I understand that. But what is working in the favor now is that for the most part, Green Bay has been intact health-wise, and everybody's price is starting to regress because none of them have a great target share. And that makes the dice rolls more and more reasonable. So I still think you're probably just going to have to say, okay, I'm going to have to live with Reed, maybe a Watson, and just take your shot with it and hope that you get more volume. I think you will get more volume than last week, but to me, Jordan Love, the prices are now more reasonable on Green Bay across the board.
I'll go Patrick Mahomes.
That's fine.
I think this could be one of those efficiency games where they can gut him on the ground. They can do it through the air. You know, you'd love to have the type of coach in a spot like this, such as Dan Campbell, where it's the fourth quarter and they don't care and they're still running trick plays at the goal line, Ben. But that isn't the case with Reed. This
Because
could be
he's
a run it up
smart.
type spot. I'm willing to play that. Mahomes is 6,800. Carolina, you know what factors in the most for me? By the way, Pacheco's expected back, so I don't know what that backfield's going to look like, which sucks. Means I probably just fade that backfield if it's Pacheco coming back from like an 8-week absence and Kareem Hunt in there. But I think knowing that you have Kelsey and DeAndre Hopkins, there's no pass rush for Carolina. Mahomes is going to have time to throw in this game. And if that's the case, I think you could see a big bounce back from Travis Kelsey, from DeAndre Hopkins. Kelsey, here's another thing. Kelsey has fallen below 6K again after that last game. DeAndre Hopkins is 5,400. Like, if you decided that you wanted to stack Kelsey, Hopkins, and Mahomes, and then let's just say you went down to the basement with defense and went, say, I don't know, Chicago against Minnesota at 2,500, which I think is fine. You still have 6K remaining for your remaining 5 spots.
Yeah. Again, that's going to be the type of week that it is. And it's funny, like pay up, mid range, low tier. They're going to be very like it's not going to be distinct, just because of the price range.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like my mid range is like $700 less than my expensive quarterback.
Yeah, I actually at quarterback just sectioned it off from like 7K down to 6,500. Really?
That's what I mean.
Because
That's
you're
five
right.
guys and $500.
It's exactly what it is. In the mid range though, look, I'm not in love with Stroud right now. I know they're just letting Mixon do everything, and maybe Stroud explodes fine, but I still think he's probably a little bit overpriced with the way that he's played. Brock Purdy, viable here. I expect a bit of a bounce back. This could turn into a shootout. There's 2 spots here in the 6K range, that like 6 to 6,500, that stand out to me. One of them is Bo Nix against the Raiders, and the other is Baker if Mike Evans is back, because the New York Giants are a bad football team. Baker and the Bucks are coming off of a bye, and he's been so good. Even without Godwin and Evans, even with a really tough schedule, he has kept this team competitive every single game. I'm going to go Bo Nix here, but I like Baker as well.
I'm going Bo Nix. I went Bo Nix last week, and Bo Nix is just awesome. He can do everything right now. 4 touchdowns passing. The guy's got rushing upside. The price is right. Vegas is just a disgrace. Can't stand that team. Yeah, Bo Nix would be the answer. The mega mind genius play is Kyler.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that people are going to go to him. And he quietly, in Arizona, quietly, he's got a lot going on. Look, you can kind of look at his game log and get kind of a good indication. He's got some monster games, and then he has some games where you're just like, what the hell happened? They didn't need him. He did nothing. That's just kind of going to be what you're going to get. But Bo Nix is the prudent choice. Kyler's the more aggressive one.
I think Kyler's very firmly in play. Now, do you see where I'm going when I say that this is like a pick your poison type of spot at quarterback?
Yeah, again, I just think it's that kind of, and when we get to the last spot, these guys are they're only a couple $100 cheaper than the guys we just mentioned.
Okay, so I'm gonna name 4 of them in this range.
Yep.
And see where you're going. I would assume that we're on similar pages here.
Yeah.
Tua against New England, not my favorite, but he's in the conversation.
Yep.
Geno against Arizona.
Yep.
Richardson against Detroit.
No.
What'd you say? I'm throwing him in the conversation.
Sure.
And then Drake May against Miami.
I had 3 of those. I had Caleb as my 4th.
Okay, I can understand that. He's dirt cheap.
Yeah, he's dirt cheap. Minnesota's defense is obviously good, but he's at home. Whatever. I don't want to do that because I don't need to, because I can just go get Geno or Tua or Drake May, who I all think are in really good spots. The volume that Geno Smith has, though, is hard to ignore. Every week.
Every week the volume is up there. Yeah, he also has some rushing upside. Like he had a game-winning rushing touchdown against San Francisco. on Sunday. I got to tell you though, Richardson's kind of like Kyler. Like he's not nearly as polished as Kyler. But what I'm saying is the range of outcomes for Richardson is crazy.
I agree with that. Oh man, the range of outcomes is crazy, but
The floor is really low.
it's so bad. I mean, when you look at it, you're just like, okay, he certainly could get there, but at the same time, the guy's got. I mean, I'd set his passing touchdowns probably at 0.5.
Yeah, like he could legitimately have a 9 completion game.
Yeah, and if he doesn't score on the ground, you have no chance.
But I'm still throwing him in the mix just in case, because if this game somehow turns into a shootout, which I don't think is crazy, then by default he might get there.
I also will say
the total's been 50 and a half.
Well, that's because Detroit scores and you know Detroit quietly doing everything they need. They're also quietly losing key defenders in every game.
I know.
And it hasn't caught up with them yet, but at some point it's going to. It's not their fault, obviously, but like that guy broke a forearm last week. Obviously, Hutch is gone. You can't just replace them forever.
Who was it? Anzalone?
Anzalone or whatever his name is. And he'll be back, but he's not going to be back for a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, they went out and grabbed Zadarius Smith, which was significant after losing Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, let me ask you something. If you were to bet this game, Colts are getting 8 points at home, where would you go?
Oh, the Colts, definitely.
Me too.
If I had to bet this game, I got to put it in context. The number one bet for this game for me would be Colts money line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even think I'm going to bet that. I just think that when you look at this, I don't see a lot of value in a team that just surgically murdered the Jaguars coming in on the road. If anything, Detroit will be overinflated. They might just be that good, and the Colts might not be any good. But I would assume that teaser and money line pieces for Detroit will be really popular, and it could push that price up quite a bit.
That's a great point. I already bet the Colts at +8.
Yeah,
I think it's just a prudent play. You know, I get hammered every time I do my video over on OddsShopper, the picks for every game, saying this guy's like, when will he learn not to bet against Detroit? It's like, I bet Detroit is an 11-point favorite against Tennessee. I bet them as a 13-point favorite against Jacksonville. I said it should be. I said it to you. It's like,
yeah, I bet them 20 on Sunday too.
Yeah, you did too. I bet against them against Houston because I think that Houston had been. It's an ebb and flow of football. Like the game is ebbs and flows. You know, Houston loses, they look bad, and everyone says they're terrible now. And then what happens, Ben? They get undervalued in the market, and then other teams get overvalued, and it ebbs and flows. It goes back and forth. Do I think the Lions should win this game? Yeah, obviously. But getting a home dog with actually a great run blocking unit, good pass blocking, and a good defense, I like it. The only downside here is that Richardson could lose the game on his own.
That's, for me, again, we can move on, but for me, that's why I kind of like the money line a little better, because I just feel like if it goes bad, it's going to go pretty bad. And if it goes good, I'm getting obviously really, really, really good plus money.
Right. Like if Richardson's surgical, because he could be that or he could be dead.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. 8 points is not going to help me.
Yeah. I hear you. Like you'd never, the worst spot you could ever tease up is Colts +8.
Yeah. No, I won't be doing that. This is this is the type of game. If you told me you wanted to alt line either team, I'd be like, I like that. Like I could see betting.
But you're saying alt line the Colts down.
Like I would consider betting the Colts like -6.5. I also think you consider betting the Lions -20.5. It's that type of game.
Yeah. And I think that's the same thing with the Chiefs. If you wanted to alt the Chiefs to like 19.5.
I'm not alting the Panthers though.
What?
I'm not alting the Panthers.
I'm saying the
though.
Chiefs specifically.
Yeah.
Because that could just be one of those games where they go nuts. Anyway, give me in the low tier right now. This is the toughest one for me. Let me get shit, man. Gino.
I'll take Drake May then.
Okay. You like Drake against the Dolphins here?
I just like Drake May. I think we don't know. I always like stuff where the answer is we don't know. He might just be amazing. He also might just not be anything special. I'll bet on it as the price starts to normalize.